Live from the Talking Joe studios,
it's Talking Joe with Chief and Chris. Hey, it's me, Chiefy Two Shoes. I'm joined by my good buddy,
Chrissy Nine Shoes. I don't know where that came from. Yeah, it's Chris, Diagnostic 80 from the Full Force, and of course this show, obviously. How's it going?
Well, no, before you ask me how it's going, and before I ask you how it's going, we've got a little thing to get out of the way because it's time for beverage of the show.
Beverage for the show, do-do-do-do-do-do. Beverage for the show, do-do-do-do-do-do. Now I am gonna go do-do and drink my beverage for the show.
Me first or you first?
I'm going first this time.
Do it.
I have managed to track down, and I've already finished it, which is hilarious. It's not even for the show, it just prepped me for the show. And that is the new Dr. Pepper Berry flavoured Dr.
You
Pepper.
mentioned this last week, yeah.
Yeah, managed to get hold of some. And it's delightful. It has that Dr. Pepper kind of vibe, and at the same time has a little berry twist going on in there. So yeah, it's one that I was excited about because I'm a bit of a Dr. Pepper fan. And
yes.
I don't know. I don't even know what that it's one of those like mysteries in life as to what flavour it is, and it's like a mixture of lots of different ones apparently. But I used to think it was almost like it reminded me a little bit of like cherry Coke, but then there's this other flavour in there that kind of completely
raspberry-ish.
Yeah,
maybe.
it's really weird, and no one seems to really know what. But it would be like. Like what Coke flavour? Do you know what I mean? Like Coca-Cola flavour. Like Dr. Pepper is just its own flavour, basically. So yeah.
Now I've got a question for you here already. In the shop where I get my beverages from, they have a little section which has kind of international or / American sodas, if you will, and they had a vanilla Dr. Pepper, which is not seen on the regular shelves of the UK stores. So I haven't bought it for this week, but my question to you is that worth having a go? I'm like yourself, I'm a big Dr. Pepper fan.
It is. I'm going to just go out and say yes. If it's got Dr. Pepper attached to it, I'll probably drink it unless it's diet, which I don't bother with the diet stuff. But again, I'm not a massive soda drinker. It's only considering you asked me to do beverage for the show. Okay. I'm like, I've got to find all these like randomly different beverages everywhere, and that was one that was piquing my interest because on the occasional time I do have soda, it will be a Dr. Pepper or a Mr. Pibb, which is the kind of like other version of Dr. Pepper in the US. If they have Pepsi or cola products, it depends what you have. In any case, I've also added a snack to this beverage for the show. Nice. And that is a bag of Quinn peanut butter filled pretzel bites, and they're amazing.
Holy jeepers.
So they're only little kind of, I don't know, like little Cornish pasty kind of pretzel bites covered in like what is like, that kind of crusty sea salt topping. Nice. And then inside you've got this kind of nice gooey peanut butter, and they're just amazing and very addictive.
Anything with peanut butter in, I'm all over. So
yes, agreed.
It's
all
delightful.
Over you, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, obviously. But nice. Appreciate that.
That's me eating one.
Oh, nice crunch. Well, actually, we'll try and get some pictures. Take some pictures for me, and we'll stick them up on the socials so people can see what we're eating and drinking. I have got. Let's have a look here. It's a 240 mils because obviously we're sensible in the UK and we go metric. 240 mils, which is an odd, not dimension, what's
capacity.
The word
Cubic
capacity, yeah.
Cubic capacity.
It's an odd volume. It's an odd volume to start with. Interestingly, cans in the UK, standard size cans are 330 mils, but they're actually bigger, I think, in the States. The cans are not that standard size.
We went into a restaurant the other day, and they asked for we asked for a drink. They said, what size would you like? And this was just like a regular standard restaurant. And the woman started with like her hand a certain distance from the table to show the size, and then it just kept getting bigger. And I was like, so hang on, the lowest one you have is like a child. Like it's like it's like 4 feet tall. That's your it was crazy.
That's the smallest. Yeah.
Everything's bigger out here.
This is called a Rani float, and that's RANI float. And it's got pictures of a couple of strawberries and a banana. And then the thing where it describes it is strawberry banana fruit drink with real fruit pieces. I've never had a fruit drink. I've never had a fruit drink with pieces.
No.
And then there's 4 instructions along the bottom. Shake, drink, chew, tap.
easy.
Sure, it looks easy, but it's not!
Wow.
I've got no idea. I'm going to do it. Let's do it. Shake. Surely if this is a fizzy drink... No, it's a prank. It's a prank. I'm literally going to open this can. It's going to go everywhere. And it's got the ring pull. It's proper old school. It's like a ring pull from 1985.
So it comes off and stays off.
So it's going to come off and stay off by the look of it. And you can like, if you separate the ring pull from the bit, you can flick it like a frisbee kind of thing.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, there you go. No, and then... Yep, ring pull's completely off.
I used to like the fact that, the actual ring part, I almost said ring piece, that would almost like you could kind of fix it to the other part of the metal piece that you peeled out, and you could separate the two with a bit of fiddling. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's got pieces. Weird. I'll try another gulp.
So you didn't get covered in it, thankfully.
Oh, bizarre, because the texture is almost like a smoothie.
Oh,
it's
I was going to say, if it's got pieces,
Weird.
it's probably a yogurt that you're drinking.
I was not expecting that.
Is it nice?
But the Rani float, they did another flavour as well, which I won't get the next week, but I'll get that another time. Yeah, not too bad. 69p, pretty reasonable.
Easy.
How are you, sir? What have you been up to?
Well, out shopping for food and drink for this show. No, I've been good. We just finished the Ohio Toy and Comic Show in Ohio, in Dayton, and it was absolutely amazing. A big shout out to Aaron Dietrich, who runs the show, Roman Collectibles. Shout out to Kenny, to Joe Colton, to Mary Mercenary Cosplay, to Wes Whitlock. What's his something Revenge City? I think it might just be Revenge City. But anyway, shout out to those guys. And pretty much everyone, What's on Joe Mind, Gary Godso, Mike Irizarry, Rob Irizarry, and Joe I just mentioned, and then the infamous podcast guys. Big shout out to them. It's great seeing Johnny and Brian again. Shout out to those guys. And then obviously everyone at the show that I saw friends for I haven't seen for a while. Eric Aranya at Boss Fight, and Tony, one of the new acquisitions of Boss Fight as a sculptor, new employees. He is lovely, so big shout out to Tony. You're a talented man, sir. Some of the stuff he has done as well, wow, incredible. Also, who else was there? Marauder Task Force was there. I got a big shout out to Warlords of War, who sold me the most amazing they're kind of like little G.I. Joe-esque homage figures with the Glyos system. I'll send you pics and stuff of them. They're great. I've got a Roadblock one and a Cobra Commander one, but then also I just got the bug while I was there with the figures that he had, and I had to pick up the it was like the Major Blood. I got a Major Blood one as well, which is really cool. But then also this Dino Riders one. It wasn't the Rasp Dino Riders one. It was like the different colorway, because he'd run out of the Rasp Dino Riders ones. And a Toxie from Toxic Crusaders. So they're really cute little figures. I love them. They're great. Big shout out to them. They're kind of like Master of the Universe kind of style looking, but very small, and connect like kind of with the Glyos system. Anyway, had a great time, great show. We met up with Morgan Lofting again. The first time that she was the voice of the Baroness from the cartoon, and many other things. But we met her at Roll Call, and she remembered both Kate and I, and we had the table next to her, so we had a lovely day just chatting with her and hanging out. She's just adorable. And yeah, it was an amazing show. Great vendors, great. Just awesome. And I had to do a panel while I was there as well for Hoarder, which is the new app and site that I've been developing with a couple of colleagues in the United Kingdom. So that's going to be coming very soon, the app. Very, very soon, in actual fact. I've got a meeting later this week about that. But yeah, so everything's going good. Everything's cool. Kind of just coming down from that weekend, I suppose, because we had to come back on the Sunday. And it's like an 8-hour drive, so I smashed that out in one go, and then just kind of like been getting back into the swing of things with work and what have you. But yeah, how are you, my good man?
Yeah, not too bad. I am on about 75% of my optimum capacity for living after the chest infection, which has now pretty much gone. I'm just got a bit of kind of nasal congestion, kind of coldy, but that's fine. I'm man enough to shake that off. Yeah, and I've actually just been this afternoon to the doctors, because while I was getting my examination a couple of weeks ago from a GP about the chest, that she looked in my ears and said, "Oh, your ears are impacted. You need to get those syringed." So I actually had, for the last 5 days, I've been putting olive oil in my ears. And I thought I thought it was a prank. I thought someone was winding me up as a setup. So there's me lying down on the bed for 10 minutes in each ear, putting olive oil in the ears to soften the wax, apparently. and went in today about an hour ago, and she basically, like you say, you've had it done. I've never had it done. She's got this little jet wash, high pressure jet wash thing, shoved it in my ear and just blasted this wax out of my ears.
Gross,
and now I think, wait a minute, there's a cat meowing about 5 miles away. I think I hear it. I've literally got super hearing now. I'm not even kidding. It's changed my life.
Dude, I know exactly how you feel, mate. I've had like kind of ear infection-y type stuff because I had eczema as a kid, and then that led to just like very sensitive skin, and then inside my ears I always get like a wax build up and like that. It's actually not too bad at the moment because I've changed my diet, and that seemed to do a lot for it. Do you know, funny enough, what sets me off is a lot of chocolate or a lot of fizzy pop. So if I have a lot of that stuff, then my ears start to kind of, start getting gross and a bit gooey and gross. Anyway, hello, ladies. In any case, over the time, like they say that you shouldn't really be doing the whole jet wash in the ears thing very often, because it, can damage the hearing area and all that kind of stuff. Well, what I ended up doing was getting one of those like kind of not over the counter, but like in the drugstore kind of little squeezy. They're almost like little squeezy pipette type things.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I basically just squirt warm water in there and squeeze it, like force squeeze it all out. And that's done the trick, whenever I've had that ever since.
If in doubt, squeeze it out. That's what I say.
Oh, also, I should say, I completely forgot to mention this. Apologies to Ryan and Molly, who are also very good friends of ours. Ryan is the guy that did the Secto Viper and Televiper costumes. Like, they're frigging amazing. I'll send you pictures for the Twitter account. But basically, we went with those two wonderful human beings, and Molly was great. She bought us vegan donuts every day. I mean, how amazing is that? Nice. So, lovely people. We went to the US Air Force Museum on the Sunday, like in the morning, and we were there for like 4 hours walking around. It's just amazing. So I took tons of pictures of like G.I. Joe vehicles. They have the X-29, which is like the experimental plane that became the inspiration for the X-30. They have the flak cannon. They have the Rattler, obviously the A-10 was there. They have the stealth bomber. They have the Blackbird, and they even have this like little drone that was that went on the Blackbird originally. And they had the designs for it, and that's where the Night Raven gets its kind of design cues from as well, including the drone, which is just awesome. Like I was like going around and just kind of like, okay, that's a G.I. Joe vehicle, click. That's a G.I. Joe vehicle, click. And then I put it in like a big load of like fit pictures and posted it on the Full Force Facebook page. So if you want to see my G.I. Joe pictures, go there. And they also had loads of cool artwork from like, the side of planes and stuff. So they had Snake Eyes, Ace, Wild Weasel, all these different references that I'm sure kind of found their way into G.I. Joe that direction. But it was really, really cool. Had a great time. And that Air Force Museum, guys, if you get a chance to go, or if you don't get a chance to go, just bloody go. It is incredible. It's free for a start, and it is dramatic. It's just 4, like maybe even more than that, hangars of, like, and it's all through history. So the first hangar is like all like World War, first flight, like the Wright brothers and early World Wars, planes, and then like World War II going into like Vietnam, and then like, it's just incredible. And then modern stuff, and then there's a whole like missile silo as well, like just this huge like tall building with like these like huge rockets in there. It's just it's like a James Bond movie. It's incredible. So yeah, go if you haven't been, and if you have been, go again. It's just incredible.
Yep, good stuff. The only other things that I've been up to really is preparing for London Film and Comic Con. I'm going on Friday.
Awesome.
Which will be the day after this is up live. Got a few commissions to pick up. I got 2 from Jack Lawrence, who is former Transformers, IDW Transformers artist and current Sonic the Hedgehog artist. I've got 1 to collect from Dan Boltwood, who is kind of an independent artist, does a lot of digital stuff. And I've got 1 to pick up from someone else. Phil Wenslade, who is old school 2000 AD artist, currently doing some stuff a series called Lawless for 2000 AD in the Judge Dredd magazine with Dan Abnett.
Amazing.
And he's done a load of American stuff. And yeah, there's a few other guys. Wanting to get something from Nick Roche, was going to do me a piece, Transformers, long-time IDW Transformers artist, but he's not there on the Friday.
We interviewed Nick on our show, and I got him.
Okay.
I made him a Hot Rod T-shirt of him opening the Matrix, which he loved. So
Wicked.
I gave that to him at TF Nation. But yeah, Nick Roche is amazing. Love that guy.
And then that's it for that. And then today is on the Wednesday. This is New Comic Book Day. So I popped down to the comic book shop and I've picked up Batman: Curse of the White Knight issue 1,
cool.
which is the sequel to the Sean Murphy Batman White Knight series, first issue. Mark Waid and Javier Rodriguez on issue 1 of History of the Marvel Universe.
Cool.
And issue 1 of the relaunched X-Men book House of X by Jonathan Hickman, Pepe Larraz. So I'll read those tonight. But apart from that, yeah, all good. So we've established, as always, at this part of the show that we're upbeat and happy. So that can only mean one thing. We got to go
Inside Chief's mind. Ah!
So, people.
Is that it? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
sorry,
people.
I
Just
was gonna
people.
say people. Yeah.
People getting on my goat. No, people pulling a fast one, or potentially pulling a fast one. Now, I could be completely off base here, but here's the scenario. I'll lay it out for you. When me and the missus lived in Guildford, down south, southish, we had a dentist there, and then we moved up to kind of south London. Sensibly, she changed her dentist to one that's 5 minutes around the corner. Foolishly, me kept my same dentist. And that is about an hour and a quarter on the train, probably about an hour on the motorbike, a bit less than an hour on the motorbike. And what it means, though, is when I have to do a dentist, I probably have to take a half-day holiday, whereas if I had the dentist 5 minutes around the corner, I could do it on my lunch break and work from home that day, something like that. So I wouldn't have to use holiday. So anyway, decided to make the switch and get the dentist around the corner. So went in for a initial checkup, which was like 53 quid, because they have to do a first consultation.
Yeah.
Now, bearing in mind, when I went to my old dentist, they were like, yeah, teeth are fine. I haven't had any work done for ages. So I've gone to this one. She's like, oh, yeah, your teeth look good. Oh, yeah, you obviously take good care of them. Yeah. So then she said, going to take a couple of x-rays. Took a couple of x-rays. And then she said, oh, yeah, your teeth look really good. We'll book you in for the 3 fillings you need. And that's going to be 360 quid. I was like, what? I've made a decision to change my dentist because I thought it was going to be more convenient and cheaper because I won't need to take time off, and now I've got a £360 bill plus the 53 quid consultation I had to have, and none of this stuff the previous dentist and it said any of this. So unless, I suppose it's possible that over the last 6 months I have developed 3 things that need fillings, but I don't know. I'm suspicious. New patient, let's fleece the new patient. He doesn't know what he's in for.
I feel that with everything I do, especially out here. But out here, you're told up front how screwed you're going to get. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right, okay.
It's like that. I mean, I go to the dentist in the UK still. That's how ridiculous it is. Like when I go and visit my folks over Christmas, we do our dentist trips, and Kate does it too because it's cheaper and it's not horrible. Like in the US, It's like, if you do anything health-based, it's going to destroy you if you don't have health insurance. But if you do have health insurance, you're getting destroyed every month anyway. And a lot of the time, you still get destroyed if you have health insurance because you pay like a deductible, or you pay like, the bit between the whatever, which is still like loads of money. And it's just, I look at it and think, there are people that are like just accepting, they just accept this, and it's like you're shifting so much money a month. It is unbelievable. Like it's just impossible unless you have like a $100,000+ a year job and they do your health insurance stuff for you. If you don't have that, you're kind of in a weird kind of place, like where you're not poor enough to have the stuff that will like Medicaid or whatever, but you're not in a position to pay so much money for like anything that's actually going to help you. So it's really messed up. In any case, rant over. I'd rather be in your position right now than my position right now. In that
anyway,
sense.
I've got the first one is tomorrow. I've got a couple of fillings booked in for after work tomorrow, so straight on the credit card. But there you go. Now that
Free
that's
money.
out the way, Yeah. Now that that's out of the way, we get to the section where people probably want to listen to, which is comic talk.
Comic talk, oh, comic talk. Larry Hama writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them, whoa. Comic talk, oh, comic talk. Larry Hama writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them, whoa.
Right, this week we are covering Special Missions 26 and then Real American Hero 92, which will rank as a two-parter.
Massive ranker.
And then a couple of singles, 26, 27 and 28, which will round out our Special Missions. Mm-hmm. And then we're going full bore on Real American Hero going forward.
For the rest of our lives.
For the rest of our lives. Special Missions 26, Passing of the Guard, cover by Andy Kubert. It's one of these symbolic covers. It's Death holding up the scales of justice, or scales.
Bit of a giveaway, isn't it, really?
Well, I don't know. Obviously, spoilers, the 4 guys on the right die. No.
Yeah.
Those 4 die?
Yes.
Yeah, that is the 4 that die.
1,000%.
But why is it... Why would you... I suppose they're not going to kill Flint and Beachhead.
It's the fact that it's called Passing of the Guard.
Oh, okay, you're saying the title. I was thinking of the cover.
It's written out there. Yeah, I mean, when I first got to this issue, I don't think at any point I was thinking, oh, the October Guard are dead. Do you know what I mean? Like, but it's just, when you actually read into it, it's like called the Passing of the Guard. You've got the 4 guys that die on the right-hand side. You've got, Dana and Dragonsky that are still alive. So I don't know, it's yeah.
I really like this cover. I like the fact that Dana's kind of reaching out.
I know,
the expressions on the guys' faces. I really, really like this cover.
It's amazing. And Death in the background's dark as hell, man. That's really cool.
Yeah. This is Larry Harmon on script, Herb Trimpe pencils, Danny Belendi inks, Phil Felix letters, Neil Yomtov colours. Now, that's the first thing I'm going to mention is Herb Trimpe, who has done the lion's share of all these special missions, bar a few. Over a few recent issues, I don't think it has been up to his highest standard, but this is him literally on. This could be some of the best Herb Trimpe art I've seen. It's absolutely unreal.
It's gorgeous. So many amazing panels.
Look at that opening splash page where the October Guard that's not the vehicle they had in the snow, is it? Because that had a snowplow. Remember that one?
Yeah.
This is something different.
Yeah.
But this looks bad, man. Look at it. It's giant.
Big, chunky, massive wheels. Tons of guns coming out of it. Yeah, it's brilliant.
So this story, very quick synopsis. This story is in Sierra Gordo, one of our old favourite stomping grounds. And this features Joe's, Cobra's, Iron Grenadiers, and October Guard, obviously. And it's all about El Jefe. I think the October Guard are there to capture El Jefe because they want kind of to install him as kind of like a puppet who's under their command kind of thing. Is that right?
This is another one of those ones of political intrigue and stuff.
Yeah.
And the scales tip so often that you don't really know what El Jefe is actually, where his allegiance lies at any point. It's all over the place, isn't it?
And the Joes are there disguised as kind of civilians. And what are they there actually? What's their... I only read this earlier today, and already I'm thinking, what's their motivation for being there?
Well, they want El Jefe too, but they're trying to do it more stealth-like. The problem is October Guard just went full bore and broke in and smashed the place up and started shooting the place.
What's Voltar's deal here? What does he want to do with El Jefe?
Voltar has got him under his his custody already. Basically, all these 3 factions want El Jefe. They want the region, don't they? So they want to control the region, and obviously, if you have El Jefe, you control the region. Now, the thing is, all these 3 factions want him for different reasons, and that's where we end up with this kind of again, coming together of everybody. Joes are kind of more subtle, they're more stealth. October Guard just bash in there and don't give the Iron Grenadiers / Cobra troops any kind of a warning or anything. They're just straight in there and they're all running out in their pants trying to put their gear on.
Yeah, like you say, that opening bit is where the October Guard have burst through the wall, and Voltar, there's some great panels early on. Voltar's coming out pulling his trousers up. He's got a vest with a Cobra insignia on his vest. And there's another bit a couple of pages later where there's a guy in the background literally putting Voltar's helmet on his head.
Yeah.
There's a Viper. I mean, this is, great stuff. And when the October Guard, they destroy all the vehicles, don't they, to stop them?
Yeah.
They've got El Jefe, they're doing an extraction, but they destroy all the vehicles, but they leave them the latrine field portables and the heater immersion types.
That's nice of them.
So, yeah. But We actually see a couple of things here. We actually see the Tiger Force Stinger, do we? Tiger Sting.
We do. We see the Tiger Sting, absolutely, yeah.
In like one panel or something like that.
Well, a couple, but Falcon, Shockwave, and Recondo,
yeah. Recondo we've not seen for a while, I don't think. Shockwave's been having quite a lot of appearances. Falcon we've not seen that much of. But we also see here, I was going to ask you about this, these Cobra jetpack things that the Iron Grenadiers are flying. Were they actual toys or not?
Yeah, they came out. They came out in like a red and black colour, and they've been re-released since. In fact, they recently came out in the modern era, kind of retooled jetpacks for the battle android troopers in the I think like the Force of Battle set from like Disney when we were at Disney a couple of years ago. But yeah, it's great. They're they're actually quite cool, chunky little kind of mini vehicle things. They're quite cool.
Like you mentioned, also it's a lot of toing and froing and wrangling and tipping of scales and a lot of kind of political stuff going on as well. Because there's a scene there where El Jefe's kind of having it out with Colonel Breakov in the getaway truck, and he says, El Jefe says, "But I soon find that I had to make compromises to even get the little things done. Soon I was overwhelmed with compromise." And Breakov's the first stumbling block of revolution. And then they actually have a bit of an argument. No, the first step towards self-awareness. Now I know what I want. I want to run things in Sierra Gorda. I want to be in charge. For the good of the people, a dictatorship in trust for the people. And then he kind of cuts him off and they have a big argument. And then, he's kind of delving into, it's not just let's capture this guy and off we go. Harmer's digging into a bit more deep-rooted feelings, etc., and philosophy.
Yeah, he's great at doing this kind of really confusing political thing.
Yes.
Where you're kind of like, well, because that's the thing. These issues are never clear. Like, there's never like a clear black and white type thing, which is what most comics are all about. It's all very, very clear a lot of the time, especially for kids. So for it to be so complex and so deep, there was always that kind of thing that Larry brought to those comics, and he does it again in this issue totally.
Is that a new outfit for Dragonsky? The kind of pink and purple. Have we seen that before? Was that wasn't always his outfit, was it?
I want to say that's the only outfit I know him in.
Oh, possibly, and I'm just maybe he wasn't in the last October Guard story we saw. Possibly.
He had. I mean, usually it might have been drawn differently, like stylistically, but that's the colours he's usually rocking.
Yeah, the Razorback things. What's the driver of the Razor?
Wild Boar.
Wild Boar. That's it. Yeah. I like that vehicle. Does it do anything? Does it come like up on its wheels or something?
When Destro's Razorback, it's Joe in sight. It rises up and starts to fight, but nobody beats G.I. Joe, a real American hero.
Yeah, it does that kind of that kind of flex up type thing. Yeah.
Okay. For this sort of kind of bubble. Again, it was a vehicle that I never had, but I'll quite always like the design of that.
Yeah, all the Iron Grenadiers vehicles were pretty banging, weren't they? They all had some pretty cool things going on.
There's a cool bit here as well during the escape. They're on the train tracks now, the October Guard, heading towards. There's a Razorback, and there's also the train. Because the October Guard are kind of split up now.
Well, they drove off the train, didn't they, onto the track?
Yeah, there's a train there's a train at this point. You're led to believe it's kind of peasants/civilians in the train, and Horror Show and Breakov, they're basically taking some fire. There's a cool panel here on page 23 where Breakov's taken some, and Horror Show's, "You must sit up straight to drive properly, Comrade Colonel." And Breakov says, "Too many bullet holes. I'm losing structural integrity."
Yeah. What's interesting here is that they have to change the track direction to
correct,
basically kind of so they don't all die. And unfortunately one of the Razorback is kind of like laying down this fire ahead of them, like trying to stop them and trying to stop Brekov and Horror Show. And obviously this is like where Strage and Stormavic jump off the vehicle and they go to try and manually change the track direction so that the train will go in the right direction.
Yeah. And one of them is that Scrage or Shrage?
I always pronounce it Shrage.
Shrage.
Yeah.
He takes it early doors, man.
Yeah.
And falls on the lever, doesn't he? And that's brutal, that panel. And then the next panel, the colouring, the one where he's taking it, platoon style in the back. The next one, very subtle colouring, kind of all
darkness,
muted sort of magenta-y and dark background. It's pretty powerful.
It's amazing. And then obviously Stormavic's doing the similar thing, but he's fighting about 20 friggin' enemy by hand, and you think he's kind of dead and he's not going to get there, but he fights his way out and manages to kind of jump on the switch or lever.
Horror Show's the second one to go in because Colonel Breakov is we're going to stop the Horror Show. They are not going to stop this revolution. It's a pause.
And he's just
horror show? Question mark.
slumped
And it's
over
like,
him.
oh, he's down. It's like, oh my god, I'm actually feeling things. I was
It's
getting
sad.
the feels.
It's sad. He throws the grenade in the back as
Throws
well.
a grenade in the back, and blows him up. And then, like, your man who's been Stormovic, who's been pinned down by about 10 people, suddenly, you can't stop me. I won't let you down. And then he falls on the switch, and then he goes. The track gets diverted. Look at that panel with his eyes open.
No, that's so dark. So dark.
It's really dark. And then you find out that it's not civilians or peasants in the back. It's the scummy official representative of the North American banana monopoly, Delbert Swinson. What a scumbag this guy is.
What a Swinson bag.
Yeah. And he's actually teamed up with El Jefe in the end. They cut a deal, and all the guns get pointed on the remaining October Guard and G.I. Joe team.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have to move over to Real American Hero 92. And there was no actual... I'm just looking here. There was no actual sign posting. So, because I wasn't getting special missions at the time, I was ordering Real American Hero from America in big batches.
Yep.
And this was well past the date of its release. So I just ordered, issues like 60 up to 100 from East Coast Comics. And then... at the end of issue 91, Real American Hero, there was no signposting to say, make sure you read Special Missions 26.
Yeah.
Because I remember reading 92 for the first time.
They just expect you to read all of it, don't they?
And you get to a bit, and there's like all these... and there's actually got some wrong indication here, because in 92, you get to a bit later on, and he says, the Joes and October Guard survivors were captured in Special Missions 24. Well, obviously it was actually 26. But,
yeah, actually, I think you'll find...
yeah. But
I wonder if that's been corrected in the IDW one. No, 24 it says. It says
oh, does it really?
As well, yeah.
So this one, this obviously carries on, but you do get a little bit of, 6 to 8 pages of prep prior to it directly picking up, and these first pages are classic.
Yeah,
real
I love
classic.
this. I love this. I mean, are we talking about the cover?
Of course, yeah, of course. We're talking about the cover. So this is the Thunderclap. And it's firing, and who's your man? It's Long Range is the driver.
Correct.
I think. And just even the colour scheme of the horizon, the sun, is red to orange to yellow is really cool, and also the wording: Thunderclap! ! October Guard! ! Beauty pageant! Amazing. I mean, that could just easily slip under your radar.
It can also. It kind of does because of the font and everything. Like It's not that 100% clear on a tiny screen. But yeah.
So we got Larry Harmer scripting. Mark Bright is on pencils here. He's obviously doing the Snake Eyes trilogy coming up next. Bob Shireen on colours. And who's on it? Andy Emberlin's on inks, and Rick Parker is on letters. And
I like the art.
The art is solid here, really solid. And I love this opening bit where the Joes have got the G.I. Joe guide to Cobra weapons and vehicles, and then later on, the next page, you see the Cobras / Iron Grenadiers have got the Cobra guide to G.I. Joe unofficial weapons vehicles 1989.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, and this one again is just like everyone's after El Jefe again.
Yeah, so these guys are on a train. Lovely opening page where the train's going along. There's some dude with, he looks like he's fishing.
Looks like Larry Hammer fishing.
Yeah, is it?
It just looks like him. I've got a funny feeling it might be him as a young.
I guess. Well, he actually comes back later on. He's actually a spy, isn't he?
Yeah,
that guy, I think.
He is.
But yeah, these guys. So who we got here? We got Long Range, Cross Country, Armadillo.
It should be Armadillo, and it's Rumbler. Right. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, these three guys, and I tell you, Long Range reminds me of Perceptor.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He reminds me a little bit of a human version of Perceptor, kind of just slightly in his look and also in the way he talks.
Yeah.
He's all about the trajectory computations and precision. Yeah. But there's a Condor, and again, this is a cool vehicle, man. I never had it, and I forgot it detached as well, because it detaches later, the front little cockpit bit. Condor's flying over, reporting back to Voltar that the Joes are here, and they get their guidebook out, and this is the Thunderclap.
Yeah.
Thunderclap, and then there's a cool bit where Voltar's like, mount your forces up, because he's going in to effectively try and get El Jefe back now.
Yeah.
In the North American Banana Monopoly headquarters. And there's a cool bit where Voltar says, I want the Cobra, Alley Vipers and Frag Vipers to go in on the first wave. No sense wasting good Iron Grenadiers and Annihilators. There's literally a Frag Viper and Alley Viper right in front of him as he says it.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, and
I love the way he's drawn on this, and I love the vehicle kind of roll.
Voltar comes out really well in terms of visual. He looks fantastic.
Yeah,
and that's where you get the spy dude, the guy from page 1. This is your loyal spy, Horatio, at the bridge. Remember me? No, but talk anyway. Train just passed me, heading in the direction of Sierra Gordo. It was carrying a G.I. Joe Thunderclap. And this is then when it cuts back to what happened to those Joes and remaining October Guard, Dragonsky and Dana, and they're in a big iron-barred cell underground in water with loads of crocodiles / alligators going around, and proper Bond villain kind of death trap scenario.
It reminds me of all the Vietnam references in all the Rambo movies as well.
Yes. And I tell you another bit I like here. He's a complete knobsack. Del Swinson. He's always on 2 phones at the same time. Amazing. Just yelling at people all the time on 2 phones.
Old Swanee 2 phones, yeah. Chiefy 2 phones.
Swinny 2 phones. What a douche. Yeah, but art is solid here. You get good action scenes. The Cobras come in and start bombing downtown Rio Lindo, running through the streets, and you get kind of a running commentary, don't you? Alley Vipers laying down withering fields of fire, Frag Vipers lobbing their grenades with unerring accuracy.
Yeah, just explaining their bio cards, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. All the while, there is a supposedly beauty pageant going on, which Del Swinson needs to make sure goes ahead, because one of his main dudes in Parliament or something who he thinks he's got in his pocket, his daughter, I think, is in the parade.
His ugly daughter.
His ugly daughter. He needs to make sure that she wins the beauty pageant, which is disguised under the beauty pageant. Is this the first appearance of the Warthog?
I believe so, yeah. This is one of my favourite vehicles. I bloody love this.
Now, was this vehicle actually assigned to a specific pilot driver or not?
Yeah, it had Sergeant Slaughter version. For us, it was version 2, and for the US, it was like version 4 because they had a USA like a wrestling version mail away. They had the Triple T tank. They had the Slaughter's Marauders, so it would have been like, version 3 or 4.
Good looking vehicle, and the crew we got here is Repeater. You'll like this crew, I think, because you like Repeater. Muskrat, you like Stalker, and Backblast is, I think, the first appearance of Backblast.
Brilliant, really cool. Again, like they were really pulling out the recent single carded figures. Scoop's in there as well, I believe, isn't he?
He's in the back. Yeah, of course, he shows up later. Yeah, now I can see him in the back of the Warthog. Great art here by Mike Bright, and then Muskrat gets a little bit of. It reminds me of Gambit a little bit, because he's putting the moves on Dana straight away, Gambit and Rogue style, and she's like, "I've read all their dossiers," and he's like, "Did you hear that? She's read my dossier."
It's cute.
Yeah, good stuff. And then Del Swinson hitting a crocodile in the face with a phone.
I know, because he's like, "Hey, off! I'm on the phone. How dare you?"
Yeah, great stuff. So the what's his name? The big vehicle, what's it called?
Thunderclap.
The Thunderclap. How do you forget Thunderclap? I've got the clap. I've got the Thunderclap. So they've departed from the train, because they can lob rounds about 15 kilometres or something, I think. And so they're setting this up, and they're with the El Presidente, because they're supposed to be under the guise of doing some kind of testing.
Of this new
artillery weapon testing, and they're like. They kind of trick him a little bit. We're going to set up here, and I'll do my checks. We're going to lob some rounds in, but they've obviously been in contact with the Joe extraction team, and they're providing a bit of assistance, if you will, for the Joe escape attempt.
I like how Backblast shoots the back of the Condor, which is obviously the Condor's a bit of a threat, because that's kind of it's been drawn over to the mess at the Miss Sierra Gordo kind of pageant in order to take eyes off what's happening with the Thunderclap. And so obviously the Backblast gets out the back of the Warthog and fires like amazing, like 3-barreled bazooka thing that he comes with, a rocket launch. Takes out the back of the Condor, but as we both know, the Condor does not die; it just separates. And it
separates, yeah. And a couple of really cool panels here. 3 guys having to single load a shell into the barrel of this Thunderclap.
Yeah, and look at the noise it makes.
And that panel, the one there where it's firing, I love that panel. Badoom! And the whole thing is moving, the back of the vehicle's moving. Now, I've never even seen this Thunderclap in pictures of the actual toy. So most stuff, if I didn't have it, I've probably seen pictures, but I've never even seen pictures of what this toy looks like, so I'm actually going to have a little look online because I don't know what it does. It's got something at the beginning which pulls it. The cannon's in the middle, and I don't know what the purpose of that thing at the back is.
Just extra bits for features.
Extra bits, okay, to make it a better looking toy.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's another one of those ones that separates, much like the mean dog and
got it,
the maggot and all those kind of They were going through like I suppose, I don't know. There just always seemed to be like a big vehicle like this that was in the wave of figures that came and vehicles that came out for whatever year it was. We had the Rolling Thunderclap. Now, like I said, the maggot, the mean dog. There were always these kind of big multi-purpose kind of things they tried to squeeze in there, which was great because they were just amazing toys.
Yeah. And then the demons give up chase because there's a big crater in the ground, and one of the dudes says, I don't want to mess with anything that makes a crater that I can't spit across. Probably sensible.
Very sensible.
And that's it. They cross the border, so the Condor bugs out, and it's kind of an all's well that ends well. El Presidente's not too sure what's really gone on about the beauty, especially with the beauty pageant, and then out pops Dana with a sash saying,
Miss Sierra Gordo.
Miss Sierra Gordo, and gives him a kiss on the cheek. The end.
Everything's fine.
Scoop in the background, giving the A-OK signal.
Amazing.
Good stuff. I don't know. Let's yo-jo it, I guess.
Okay, well, so I'd have to give it for both issues and for the impact. It's interesting that the impact of the October Guard dying happens in the first part of this story. And
Very much so.
And then, but what I suppose not rubs me the wrong way, but kind of like makes me feel a little ill at ease is in the second part how Dana and Dragonsky, or you hardly see Dragonsky really. I mean, he's in there, but he's not really prevalent. But Dana, how like they're all smiles and all happy and all that kind of stuff. They've just lost 4 of their closest friends, and all of a sudden they're with the Joe team, who they're not friends with. They're like they've been at loggerheads with these guys for kind of for years, and you could kind of say, yeah, well, it's just a very small scene where they've completed the mission and they're happy, they're alive, etc., maybe. But I don't know. It just felt
reflection, a nice, just a couple of panels of reflection on what happened in that issue. And I think possibly the way they're drawn, kind of, overly jolly and happy throughout the mission.
Yeah,
it could possibly be because Mark Bright wasn't aware of what happened in Special Missions 26. But having said that, Larry obviously wrote 26, so he possibly could have written in a couple of panels, to show that. So maybe it's on Larry more than it is on Mark for, kind of like you said. It's strange that happened. Normally that would happen towards the end of the second of a two-parter, rather than the end of part one. So,
or you would get some sort of, like you say, like a reflection moment at the end of the issue, like maybe like this is for our fallen comrades kind of thing. You know what I mean? Rather than kiss.
Is there even any mention of those 4 dying?
No, only in that little note from the editor type thing. But like, there's nothing where she says, or you think when she's talking to some of the other Joes that she could easily kind of come back and say, I don't know. It's hard to really kind of say, but I think it doesn't necessarily work for me as a 2-parter. It works as 2 separate stories, if that makes sense. Yeah. It just happens to be that it's the follow-on from that story. I don't think there's a connection that requires it to be part 2, if that makes sense.
Do you want to rank it as two individual ones? Or not?
I will. I'll leave that. What do you think?
I don't know. I was always thinking it was a 2-parter, but now you've kind of said that, and now the more I look at it, it probably could be 2 singles. I'm happy if you want to do it as 2 separates. I'm going to do it as 1 because
I'll do it as 1 as well.
I think I probably like it more than you. I think the first issue.
I love it. No, I think it's great.
First issue is definitely better and probably does stand up on its own. But I don't see a massive drop-off for me for the second one. It just does feel like a completely different story. But having said that, I am going to put it as a 2-parter, and I'm going to give it a low 8.
I will agree with you. I'm going to do a low 8 as well. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I was just pointing out the fact that I found it very odd that you go from losing 4 members of your team to all jolly and happy and stuff.
The guards show up again when we get into the hundreds, and now again I've read it so many times, but I can't specifically remember a lot of it, so maybe they do bring up some more reference towards the fallen comrades then.
What's interesting is in the most recent issue of the IDW comic, and I won't go into too many spoilers, but the could be an odd return that people aren't quite sure about how it's happened yet.
Okay. Well, I'm about. I don't know how many issues behind.
500 issues behind.
No,
you'll get
20.
To that. You'll get.
Behind.
I was going to say. I thought
I'll get to that in real time when we do it on the show. Will
exactly. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Let's move on. Mexican Holiday is issue 27, and this is another Andy Kubert cover. Love this cover. If only the inside was as good. This is Quick Kick on top of a bus.
Agree.
Quick Kick on top of a bus, firing an Uzi, which in the comic book is a water pistol, and which Andy Kubert clearly was not given direction on that for the cover, and the bus is under fire.
Yeah, this cover has got nothing to do with what happens in this issue. Nothing at all. It's
well,
just that
it has in a way that Quick Kick is in it with an Uzi, and there's a bus.
He's never standing on the bus.
This particular scene doesn't happen, no.
With loads of ripped up clothing firing an actual real Uzi. So yeah, it's just odd. It's really weird.
And when I read it, again early this morning, I didn't take any notice of the credits box. But by the time I got to, I think, page 4, I was like, wait a minute, this is definitely not Larry Hama. And I skipped back, and indeed it was Michael Fleischer, who was the writer. Yeah. Javier, and who Michael Fleischer was. I only know him as work from 2000 AD. I think he did a lot of Rogue Trooper after Jerry Finley Day stopped writing it. And again, his stories potentially weren't the best. Javier Soteres, penciler. Now I know him from, he did some Flash art at the beginning of Mark Waid's run in the early 90s for DC. Yeah. Jose Marzan is the inker. Phil Felix letters, Neil Yontov colours. So what's happening here is the Joes are going to have a base inspection, and there's also another mission that 3 of them for some reason need to get sent on, which is a simple collection of some documents. I don't know why 3 of them needed to get sent on that mission, but they do, and this is the story of what happens to those 3, which is Quick Kick, Outback and Stalker, which interestingly is 3/4 of the squad that got trapped in Barovia in their gulag.
Yeah.
And they're just missing Snowjob.
I think when you say you're not really sure why, I think they're giving them the break. I think they're kind of, saying, well, this is an easy mission, let's just have these 3 take some R&R. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So I think that, unfortunately, it doesn't really go well for them.
No. I mean, they've gone down to Mexico. They've got the documents handover literally on page 3 of the issue. They've done it. So now, like you say, they do R&R, and you immediately get some kind of not before seen characterization, especially of Stalker, who appears to be a bit of a sexist pig.
Yep.
Quick Kick's like, let's take in a few of the local sights. Stalker, I am, buddy boy, I am, as 2 scantily clad ladies walk past. And you get more of that from Stalker.
Now this is the scene they should have had on the recruitment poster. It sure beats, whoa, fuck's a lady.
Yeah, I mean, you get plenty of that during the issue. And then that's the bit where he's lounging poolside.
Look how ripped he is.
Some lady goes to the diving board. Her plan is intricate. She goes off the diving board, stays under for ages, waits for Stalker to rescue her, and then give her mouth to mouth.
And then just ends up kissing his face off. Yeah. He reminds me, and I see Dylan from Predator when I see Stalker in this issue. I just, you son of a bitch. What the CIA got you pushing too many pencils? So that's why this is who I see when I look at Stalker on this particular page when he's like laying on the bed on the. I'm going to
go and watch Predator after this podcast. So let's hurry up because I want to go and watch it.
Okay.
No. Well, kind of no, but
Chief, you cooked up a story and dropped the 2 of us in the meat grinder. Anyway, carry on.
Get to the chopper. Stick around.
Stick around.
Yeah. So then some weird stuff happens. Basically, who have we got? Sorry, Outback and Quick Kick are on a bus back from. They've gone sightseeing while Stalker's chatting up the ladies. Then they kind of get hijacked by a load of, are they counter-revolutionaries or revolutionaries, as is always the case in special missions. This is a strange bit here because this dude here, he is Ignacio, and he basically says you're all prisoners in a war, in our armed struggle against US imperialism and Mexico's corrupt counter-revolutionary puppet democracy. So he says you're all prisoners. One of the guys gets out of the bus with his arms raised, and they shoot him dead.
Yeah.
So wait a minute, you wanted prisoners 3 panels earlier, and now you started killing people.
Yeah.
And there's a slight justification for that. later on, because there's a kid dressed up as a soldier, and they postulate that the revolutionaries think this kid was a real soldier.
Yeah.
But I still don't know what that means. They shot down that civilian. But anyway, he's got a water pistol, which Quick Kick. Another guy dies actually before that happens. They take some UCLA University javelin thrower with them because he's good at throwing Molotov cocktails, they think.
He doesn't even get to throw it at them.
No, he gets gunned down, and then Quick Kick launches it, and one guy burns alive here. Literally, he is flaming crispy.
Flaming Mo.
Outback gets shot point blank in the face.
Deflects off his massive, awesome, bony cheek.
Deflects off his obviously steel-plated cheek.
Off his beard.
Yeah, off his beard. Stalker, meanwhile, has pulled a knife on some helicopter pilot to get some rescue attempt on the basis that, wait a minute, those guys should be back by now. I better steal a helicopter and find out where they are.
Mental.
Quick Kick gets the kid's toy Uzi, gets all the guys to throw down their weapons till water predictably drips out the end. He then squirts it in one guy's face, which somehow disables two of them. Big firefight. Quick Kick gets hit on the back of the head. Stalker comes in, launches the helicopter at the bus. I don't know if he knew all the civilians were out of it, but big explosion.
How do you know? How do you know that it's empty? And then not just that, but he jumps out of it so nonchalantly and just lands on his ass, and then this helicopter just hurtles into the blimmin' bus and blows it up. How are the people that aren't 3 feet away from that all dead? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just nuts.
And then all wrapped up, they get home. Shipwreck gives them a bit of beef about their, oh, look, here come the tourists. And
Outback's got like the face thing on. I don't know. I just find I found the whole thing very just I don't know, just not good enough to read for me.
No. Now this is similar-ish in a way. Do you remember that we had a Herb Trimpe special missions? I think it was 24 Girls' Night Out or Ladies' Day or something.
Yeah, Ladies' Day, I
think it was.
The baseball one.
And that one was equally
far-fetched.
Not G.I. Joey / far-fetched, but had a lot of fun stuff going on. And I quite enjoyed that one. Whereas this doesn't seem to have any of the elements that made 24 pleasantly readable.
I'm just not a fan of it, and it's a shame because it could be a really good story. It could be a really good special mission.
Yeah.
But there are just some things about it that just don't make sense. And that whole thing of Stalker, like you just said, like threatening a guy with a knife to get the helicopter on what is effectively that his mates have just stayed out a bit too long. I mean, they're grown men. You wouldn't even think for a second anything was wrong. Like, you just wouldn't. And so I kind of feel that I think the whole thing is a little bit off pace a little bit. There's just a lot of odd things about it that just don't quite jive with me. And and also the whole, I don't know, it's just
I'm scrolling down the bottom of my list here. I gave Special Mission 17, All in a Night's Work, a 5 out of 10, and I cannot for the life of me remember what that one was. So I'm just gonna have a. I'm just trying to compare it to don't know, can't find it. Anyway, regardless, I'm giving it a 5.
I'm going with a 4. I just feel brutal at the moment, and I just there's some. It's okay, but it's just I disappointment across the board on that one.
Yep. Okay. What are we going to next?
28. It's the last issue, baby.
28. This is the last one, yeah. So cover here, we've got a Condor.
It's called Condor as well, interestingly.
Which is a jettisoning. We've got 2 stilettos. And then what's this vehicle in the front, in the foreground?
That's the X-19 piloted by Ghost Rider. And then you've got a couple of X-30s. Python patrols. They're Python patrols.
Oh, yes, of course they are.
Ones, aren't they? From the
and then you've got the Defiant, is that?
Yeah, Defiant. Well, actually, that's the Crusader, isn't it? The Defiant is the launch complex.
Yep. So this, like you say, is called Condor. Condor. Script is Larry Harmer. Herb Trimpe's back on pencils. The regular team's back together. Phil Features letters. Neil Yomtov colours.
Again, some gorgeous artwork in it.
Gorgeous artwork here. This is the Joes have got kind of this kind of covert stealth base, and Cobra's launching an attack as well as on the USS Flag as well. And the Joes have kind of put a shuttle up. They're on an observation mission, I think, up in space. And then that comes back down to help out the Joes in defending the base and the flag. So it's kind of an attack on double fronts here. And what I do like initially is I love this special mission where the first page is amazing anyway, but you get kind of 4 or 5 pages of literally exposition, especially of kind of military jargon and strategy / chat about what's actually going on and what the plans are. I love all that kind of setup stuff.
Big time. Some really good, like some awesome, like again, art within that first 4 pages as well. Like some really nice stuff. I love how it transitions from like the nice clear day in Utah for the launch to the it down deadly waves that the flag's having to deal with. And it's just beautiful artwork. There's loads of dynamism to it. Like some of the vehicles are coming. Like the Tomahawk again looks stunning. You've got a lot of characters in this as well. A lot of different kind of use. A lot of different characters. It's really interesting. I really enjoyed it.
So Payload and who's the other dude? Hardtop.
Yeah.
What's their roles in terms of?
Hardtop
is it a 2-man crew?
Well, yes and no. So obviously those 2 figures came with the toy.
Yep.
Hardtop is the ground crew, so he's the guy that's making sure everything like is fine on the deck. And Payload is the astronaut who goes up with the Defiant. Whenever they do a launch, though, they have to have more than just the 2 guys crew in it.
Yeah,
so
of course,
Hardtop is almost seen, I suppose, as like the lead ground crew. And then obviously there would be other guys helping out there. And then obviously at the moment, in this particular story, it's Stalker, Ace and Slipstream are in with Payload. And Payload's actually, he's more of a spacewalker kind of guy. So they're all the pilot. They're piloting it by the looks of things. And Payload's like hardly seen. I don't even think he is seen, is he? He's only heard, I think.
Payload, you get that opening panel, the vertical panel, where he's saying, Payload and Hardtop, we're out of here. Literally as they launch, and I think that's it. Is that right?
Payload to Hardtop, we're out of here, even though that's Stalker that's saying it. Isn't that weird?
Right. Okay. I got no idea what Payload looks like. I thought that was Payload.
No, Payload's a white guy.
Okay,
so
that's not him
with a tash. So I think, because that's supposed to be Stalker. It's definitely Stalker because it's mentioned like later on. But I think that either might be a mistake or it should be over the radio as opposed to coming from, because Stalker's also got his mouth closed. So I'm thinking that should have been a radio call from Payload to Hardtop. Okay. So yeah, that's interesting that mistake happens in that part of the issue, because for the rest of the time they're talking. It's definitely Stalker that they talk about.
Yeah, because then later on, actually, Payload near the end of the issue, someone says, Slipstream, proceed aft and man the drone, and then Slipstream says, now you're talking, Payload. Yeah, that is an interesting kind of
maybe it's a mistake.
Gaff. Yes, I think it is. I think it is a mistake. Yeah, but like you
that's
said,
actually because that is supposed to be Slipstream, Ace, and Stalker in the front. It's like they get Payload wrong twice, isn't it?
Oh, so you reckon later on we're seeing pictures of Ace, but Slipstream's calling him Payload?
Yeah, that's what I think, because it is Slipstream, Ace, and Stalker who are supposed to be in that, who are supposed to be piloting that thing.
Yeah.
I'm having like read through this again, because then like look at the last, the final shot, which you'll see in the front 3 pilot seats. It's Stalker in his greens, Ace in his flight suit, and Slipstream in his flight suit, and there's Payload on the side on the ladder. He has a completely different look. He's not Ace, he's not Stalker, yet they keep referring to one or the other as Payload.
Yeah.
So that is a massive error, I think, on their front, on that front. That's so funny. I've never noticed that before.
Yeah.
Probably because I just assumed who they were, and when I heard the Payload being mentioned, I just thought it was off camera each time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's really annoying that they did that. Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
You like you said earlier, you get a lot of guys here because then you've got Fred 7, you've got Darklon, Wild Weasel pops up, which is nice to see. I always like a bit of Wild Weasel.
Yeah, one of my favourites, fun enough, Dogfight and the Mud Fighter make an amazing appearance in this issue. It
feels like they knew it was the final issue. Larry loves doing aerial-based stories, so he was like, "I'm going balls out. Let's just get everyone involved that's ever been in a aircraft in G.I. Joe, and let's give them all something to do."
Yeah, big time. And the dogfight with no pun intended, with the Mud Fighter dogfight and the Python conquests is just awesome. In fact, again, brilliant aerial combat writing, brilliant story and action, and it's just great. I loved it.
There's so much going on.
My only downer is how it goes from this really tense final page before the final page, where we've got again, good shooting, Ace. Even says it in the and he's saying good flying payload. What? Yeah. Who is he talking to? Because payload isn't flying anything. He's obviously talking about Stalker, unless he's been miscoloured in the issue. Unless that, instead of should be a black guy with a tash, it should be a white guy with a tash, which would fix that problem from the beginning, even though it's Stalker in the end you see in the last page. So there's just a big error here with how that's gone about. Anyway, so the shuttle comes back and it helps out Dogfight by taking out that last Python conquest.
Is Dogfight a knockoff Wild Bill?
Well, this is the thing. There are a lot of characters that we think were given different names not because they wanted to make more characters, but they were going to do updates of regular characters, but they had either run out of trademarks on those names, or for whatever reason they just decided to do a different character. I think Dogfight might have been yet like an upgrade to Wild Bill. Downtown, I feel like, was an upgrade of Short Fuse because, blonde hair, very similar looking guy to Short Fuse, so it could easily have been an upgrade to him. Heavy Duty, there was a feeling that was just a Roadblock update, and then they decided to make him a cousin or something anyway. There's a few like that where they came out in like the early 90s and you think that's just an upgrade of that character. But more or less, yes. But I love the fact that he's his own character now. Again, I don't have any... He may always have been his own character, but I did feel that vibe of Wild Bill from him, yeah. So they're coming into land, and it's like, we can only land on the flag, and we've got to do it without an arrestor hook, and I've got to get this right within like an inch of and then it's like, oh my god. And the next page is, it's landed hours ago. Everyone is around it. The Sky Strikers are shooting past in the background, and Hawk's basically saying goodbye. And you've got all of the crew behind him that have been in that issue.
That's a wrap up for you.
But isn't it? It's just. I mean, you joked last time about like how Larry's really good at wrapping things up in the last couple of pages. Yeah. And in this, it's just, you don't even get any wrap up. It's just boom, end, bye, peace.
It's like, oh balls! I thought we had 2 pages left. Now we've actually only got 1. All right, let's just do something. I don't mind it, but like you say, 1 more page of story would have been nice.
And I do like that last panel, but I think like in a way to differentiate the Crusader from the tower behind it of the flag, they've given it way too many panel details, and it makes it look a little bit weird and a bit funny. Do you know what I mean? Yes, like it looks a little bit patchy.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. In terms of ranking, what you going? You gave?
I'm giving it an 8.
And how would you rank it versus the previous 8, the 26/92, which you gave an 8?
I'd give
that.
Yeah,
or below
I prefer this issue. Honestly, I prefer.
So probably going a high 8 on this one.
Yeah, high 8.
Okay, I am also giving it an 8. I think it's art's great. Apart from those, there's
the payload errors bug me, and the
payload error
and the last page does.
It is buggy, but I don't. It doesn't necessarily detract from the story enough to say, blah, 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 blah.
It's just an error. It's just an error in like that everyone seemed to have missed at that point.
Yeah.
Or Larry wanted payload included visually, but it just never happened. And whoever was doing the art, which it was, who was it? Trimpy again. Yeah. So because it, whoever it looks like cross communication to me.
Yeah. Cool. All right, good stuff. That wraps up our special missions then. And I'll tell you at the end of the show what people need to read for next week. But now that we've talked about the comics of G.I. Joe, we need to talk about the toys of G.I. Joe with our regular segment, Chris Talks Toys.
Chris talks about toys, ho ho. Chris talks about G.I. Joe. He talks about all the things from the comic book and the animated show. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys.
With a new beautiful theme, thanks to your wonderful singing voice.
Yes, I
Chief.
need to actually give a shout out for that. While you're giving the toy spiel, I will just quickly look up who I'm going to give a little bit of credit to that.
Okay. Right, so this one, I may have given the game away again with my gushing over it, but I am talking toys this week. I will be mostly talking Dogfight and the Mud Fighter.
Joe's ready to rattle some reptiles with a G.I. Joe Mud Fighter. Nobody beats G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe Mud Fighter. It flies low to the ground and it's armed to the sky.
Now, I know this is kind of one of those like quirky vehicles that I think a lot of people like. I don't know, they kind of throw it on the dumb pile, I think a lot of people do, but I have, again, like tight nostalgia attached to this particular vehicle. And yet again, I'm back in that holiday in 1989 to the US that I've talked about literally every time. But I wanted to give some more background on that particular trip to the toy shop that I went to. Now, I can't remember, still to this day I can't remember what toy shop it was. I know for a more or less a fact that it wasn't a Toys R Us, and I'll tell you for why in a second. I'll tell you for why. But so 1989 was the year. I go into this toy store and I was, again, I had like £150 worth of spends to kind of rinse through. So almost, like probably about, at the time, a lot of dollars. Like it was almost like friggin' double, for what you get in dollars. So I had all this like money that I wanted to spend while I was in the US, and I decided to spend pretty much all of it on G.I. Joes and the first toy shop we went to, which was like, it was a big like department-y style store, and it just had this big toy aisle a couple of toy aisles, and in one of them it was just all Joes. And so this is the lineup of figures I managed to grab. So it was the 89 series, so it was Ali Viper, Annihilator, Backblast, Countdown, DJ, Deep Six version 2, Naugahyde, Heat Viper, Night Viper, Recoil, Rock and Roll Scoop, Snake Eyes version 3, Tundra Stalker, Targat, and a few figures from the previous year which was still peg warming, including Iron Grenadier, Storm Shadow version 2, Lightfoot, Muskrat, Spearhead and Max, and then the Tiger Force that were out that year previous, Bazooka, Duke, Dusty, Roadblock and Tripwire. So they're all the figures. They're all the single-carded figures.
Then. Just
a few. Yeah. So you can imagine my joy on this day, how this is the most magical moment ever. Now, I had a big push cart, or trolley, as we like to call it. And in fact, that could be my British colloquialism. That's had a few Americans in stitches in the past, calling it a trolley. And it was literally full, this like full-on push-along trolley of G.I. Joe figures, carded. It was the most glorious sight you've ever seen in your life. And on top of that, we popped into a different store later on in the holiday. So this is a different day of the week, or the 3 weeks we were there. And I saw a smaller vehicle, Mud Fighter with Dogfight, and I fell in love with it. I just looked at it and thought, man, this is cool. And that figure has so much personality, much like, as our little conversation said previously, Wild Bill has so much personality. And I felt like this guy was so intriguing, and the vehicle was so weird and kooky, and I was like, I have to have this. So, like I said, 1989, it's a green, like, rear prop propeller light aircraft is all I could really describe it as, with a kind of interesting, like on the end of the wings you've got like these little black kind of V wing tips that operate as wheel landing gear at the bottom of it as well. So you've got the landing gear on the edge of the wings, and on the front, just at the front, they're always open. These two kind of like molded machine gun things underneath the nose. You've got, and it's covered in these like little silver bombs, these little silver kind of missile things on black racks that all come off, they're all removable. And this rear propeller, which you can kind of, flick and move and everything. And then this black cockpit, which has no like protection. It's just like, it's like a frame with empty gaps in it. So no glass or anything like that. I don't know what I'm guessing the version that we see in like the comics has glass, because I do see like a reflection in some of the pages. So I think like the it was supposed to have glass in it, obviously, but in the toy version it does not. And I think it's so quirky, so interesting. The box art was really dynamic again, and I really loved that aspect of it too, because it had like this like swamp kind of underneath it in the box art, so it's almost like it was like a plane, but only for flying over swamps, and that's why it was called a mud fighter. And I just thought it was great. And now it came with Dogfight, which I thought was an interesting name for, very similar to what the actual plane is. And I used to, early on when I had him, I used to get the two kind of mixed up. Is it Mudfight and the Dogfighter? I can't remember. But anyway, Dogfight was really cool. Now, he's very much like Wild Bill. He's got the big shades. He's got a big ginger tash. He's got the kind of, but he's got a different hat now. He's got like almost like a, like what are they called, those hats, Chief? They're like really fancy hats that you see like officers wear with the shiny brim, and then like the tall kind of triangular hat element that goes on top. Name?
Must have.
It does. Apologies for not knowing what they're bloody called. In any case, he's rocking that, and we'll have an image go up on Twitter. So, and again, I'm sure you will know what he bloody looks like. He's got a brown leather jacket, white shirt underneath, and then these brown pants, black boots, and a little molded hand pistol on his like right thigh. He also comes with a handgun that had like a little sight on it, which was a bit crazy. His name is James R. King. He is grade 02 from Providence, Rhode Island, like many of the characters in G.I. Joe, because obviously that was where Hasbro was located. He was the mud fighter pilot, his primary specialty. Secondary specialty was electronics technician, and his card reads thusly: Dogfight was permanently 86th, that means forcibly ejected and forbidden to return, nice. From every carnival and county fair in Alabama for winning too many stuffed bears. The combination of his uncanny depth perception, precise hand-eye coordination, and powerful throwing arm enabled him to knock down all the wooden bottles with just one pitch. Every time. Nice. Now, he uses those same skills to destroy Cobra Hiss 2 tanks and maggots. It's interesting they put Cobra Hiss 2 in there, because I'll come to that in a second. And then the quote is, "The Cobras hear the mud fighter first. That big-bladed, unducted fan makes a racket like a giant..."
Go on, a giant panda bear.
Giant mutant lawnmower. Chances are good that Dogfight will be diving out of the sun with his thumb dancing a fandango on his bomb release trigger, with all the mud fighter's guns blasting. By that time, it's far too late for evasive action or return fire. Classic card art as well. And again, like, yeah, his actual like art on that particular on his bio card is really, really good as well. Like really detailed, shaded, and everything beautiful. So, again, really cool. Now, the thing I wanted to mention about Hiss 2 is that it was also released as a Benny's exclusive in the US in the same year, as a 2-pack, the Mud Fighter and the Cobra Hiss 2.
Like Cobra's crawling back with a new Cobra Hiss. Look out! Over and back with a new Cobra Hiss. Joe's never faced firepower like this. And nobody beats G.I. Joe. He'll be an American hero.
G.I. Joe Mud Fighter comes with pilot, Cobra Hiss with driver.
Nobody beats G.I. Joe. Yo, Joe!
In this big box, which I've actually bought recently in the modern times, from, I think it was like London Film, or it might have been one of the XL shows, or one of the MCM shows in Birmingham. But anyway, that 2-pack, I do have a version of that. And it comes also with Dogfight and the Track Viper, who comes with the Cobra Hiss 2. But then they'd also throw 2 bonus figures in there. So they were just literally throwing random figures into this exclusive pack. And, you was just lucky what you actually get. And I don't know what I've got in mind because it's sealed. In any case, a very, very cool vehicle with a cool little history. And again, another thing I want to mention is that it did come out in the UK and Europe. There's an image of it on a leaflet with blue missiles for the European release, but I don't recall seeing the blue missiles making it out there. That I could be wrong because I haven't researched that since. But I'm not 100% sure if the blue missiles actually made it to the release, because I've seen, obviously, it's used in other product photography and so on and so forth with silver missiles, including a 1991 beautiful European catalogue image where it's flying through the ravine of this gorgeous kind of like scenery, being chased by 2 Fang 2s. with a heat viper and a frag viper piloting them. And I'll send you the image. It's beautiful, and it's one of those images that you just, I don't know, you just like absolutely fall in love with. And funnily enough, Dogfight was called Bullseye in that particular catalog.
Bullseye.
I think it's because I don't know why he's changed his name, but the actual, it's either Belgian or Dutch. I believe it's a Belgian catalogue, but right. It could be Dutch as well. In any case, it's freaking amazing, and I'll send you the image. It's beautiful and gorgeous, and it's one of the reasons why I think the Mud Fighter is one of my favourite vehicles, because it just the way it's portrayed in this image alone. The European Dio imagery is some of the best toy photography ever taken in anything. So, so there.
Good stuff. And just for completeness, it was Stephen Miller on Facebook who suggested Salt and Pepper for talking about toys. So
Push it. Yeah. I know it's not that song, but I just wanted to do that.
Yeah. Good stuff. And another toy that I wasn't familiar with, but had enjoyed the sporadic appearances in the comics. So yeah, good stuff. Yes, British colloquialisms, or over-egging the pudding.
We got a pudding, we're gonna egg it. We got a pudding, we're gonna over-egg it. We got a pudding, we got no criticisms. That means it's time for some British colloquialisms.
This week, my choice is one that I heard yesterday, and I wasn't in a conversation. I wasn't eavesdropping, but I was at my desk, and there was a conversation behind me with some loud individuals, and I overheard. And this was based on, they were talking about some, I work in kind of IT, it's just boring IT software rubbish. And there was a couple of, there was a couple of guys talking, and they were mentioning that part of our testing team was getting outsourced to Hyderabad in India.
Okay.
To a team, and I work in the gambling industry, to a team that knows nothing about gambling. And he commented that outsourcing the testing to this team was like having a chocolate teapot. Which obviously amazing. The reference there is a chocolate teapot is absolutely useless, because once you put the hot water in, it is just melted.
Speaking of absolutely useless, so in a similar vein to yours, mine is again a statement of absolutely, being very useless.
Yeah.
And what it's a chocolate based one as well, and it's that's about as useful as a chocolate fire guard is one I've heard. And the other one, the one that will be completely different but is still about useless things, that's about as useful as a glass eye in a fog. So they're my two. Chocolate fire guard and a glass eye in a fog. Especially
if it was double glass eye in a fog.
Exactly.
But there you go. At least with one good eye, you can see half the fog.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. It is about that time where
Chief asked Chris a question. Chief asked Chris a question. What'll he say? What'll he do when Chief asked Chris a question?
This is a question that it was a conversation I actually had with my daughter just before we started this podcast, post bath. We were putting her in her PJs, getting ready for story time, and she wanted to talk.
She's 25.
She's 25. she wanted to talk about what animals eat other animals. It was a little game she wanted to play, and she was mainly keeping it to water-based animals for some reason. My question to you is only partly based on that, but it is, what is your favourite sea-dwelling creature?
Does it have to be alive now?
So you're going to pick a dinosaur?
Well, yes.
I'll give you two. No, I'll give you one, and it can be an extinct creature.
Well, this is interesting. I've always been fascinated with things like, giant squids and all those kind of creatures and stuff like that. Plesiosaurus. So ichthyosaur and plesiosaur were obviously they were two kind of big ones, but my favourite is actually the Mosasaurus. The
whatasaurus?
The Mosasaurus, which made a big splash. Hey,
the
Jurassic World.
The Mosislacosaurus.
The Mosasaurus.
Oh, right.
The Samosa. The
Samosasaurus.
Yeah, Mosasaurus. And that, again, is one of my favourites. It's like basically a huge friggin' alligator. It's not, but it's massive and fat. But it's just massive. And obviously they exaggerated the size of the biggest known one to exist in Jurassic World. But it's still really cool for me. And so that would be the prehistory version. Yep. In modern times, I've always been fascinated with, like I said, the giant squids. But then I think for me, it's got to be the whale shark.
Right.
Such a weird creature.
Okay. Good stuff. There'll be more potentially animal-related questions next week, or maybe food-related questions. I don't know. Or maybe something other. Who knows? I don't even know. I make it up on the spot. But you'll be sure there will be another question next week. In talking about next week, if people want to do their homework and read ahead, we will be covering Real American Hero 93 to 96. Excited to say we got a Mr. Chad Bowers coming on the show. We had an interview with him quite a few months ago now, but he is coming back onto the show because he wants to discuss the Snake Eyes trilogy.
Give him his full name.
Mr. Chadley Bowerton Esquire III. I think that's his name, I'm not sure.
I'm sure there's a Harrington in there as well, but that's close enough.
So make sure you read up 93 to 96. We're kicking into high gear with those bad boys. Catch us in all the usual places, talkingjoecomics@gmail.com, Talking Joe Comics on Instagram, Talking_Joe on Twitter, and Talking Joe, a G.I. Joe podcast on Facebook. And also, I will quickly sneak in, before we can tell the good folk where to find you, sir, something arrived in the post for me today, which is an exclusive piece of merchandise. I'm not going to say any more. I'll be sending a version to Chris. He has no idea what it is. Hopefully that will wing its way over to him in the next few days. Hopefully he likes it. We will then be able to show the listeners, and I might even be able to get my hands on a few more that we might be able to make available to listeners if they want some. Ooh, intrigue. Who knows what it is? Only I do. There you go. Where can people find you, sir?
Diagnostic 80 on Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. Christopher McLeod on Facebook if you're being really stalkerish. And then obviously the Full Force is on Podbean, iTunes.
Or Payloadish.
Yeah, or Ace-ish or Slipstream-ish. Anyway, or the Full Force podcast on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere pretty much. And Patreon. Get on Patreon and give us money. Love it.
Do it. Give some money. Excellent. With all that said and done, we will catch you down the road.
Bye.